Okay, Rebel Therapy Podcast, episode 23. Hello, Michelle. How are you today?
Hey, Katie. I'm a little blah. How about you?
Yeah, well, blah doesn't quite cover it, but it's in the universe, definitely. If I was a color, I'd be sort of like whatever storm cloud colors are. So gray and purple and dark blue and a little bit angry, I think. Angry
Yeah.
but flat, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I think for me, I feel more like muddy, like I'm in
Yeah,
sludge or
yeah.
something.
Oh, muddy sludge. Awesome. All right, so that really kind of leads us into our topic for today, which is, and I was joking, maybe this is like a multi-part series on overwhelm. As we mentioned last time, we want to be aware of what our life circumstances are that we are collectively experiencing at the moment. Instead of getting into details, I think it's fair to say that the fire hose of bad news is showing no signs of lessening. That brings us to overwhelm. And I think based on what you just said, you and I are probably feeling various versions of overwhelm. I guess my question is, when that comes up for you as a therapist or me as a therapist, I think it's also an indicator that that's probably coming up with our clients as well. How do you navigate overwhelm?
I think there are a lot of different ways. What we're going to narrow in on today is the idea of curiosity that can be a gateway to some movement, different energy, or different perspective. I think inherently I'm quite a curious person, and that's something that has really helped me a lot in therapy. Like to be a therapist, you have to be inherently curious to want to know more. But yeah, it does feel like it has some way of grounding me into, yeah, like a different energy than overwhelm or sludge. If it had a different color, it would be more like a vibrant red kind of energy. Yeah, it has a way to kind of pull me into something different, whether it's like somebody else's world or a different world altogether. What about for you?
Yeah, no, we share that. I think this idea of curiosity, but as you were talking, the images that kept coming up for me were of a ball of twine or a ball of multicolored embroidery thread or something. And so for me, curiosity can take me from that place of overwhelm, as we mentioned. If I can grasp an end of one of the threads, and I think that's what the curiosity is, then I can follow that thread through and it helps me stay present, first of all. One of the ideas of overwhelm is that you sort of float away, or at least that's how it feels to me. So if I can be present through my curiosity and really stay grounded, that helps. It also makes it a bit more manageable. When I think of overwhelm, I think of this sort of avalanche. It's easy to be kind of swept away. And so I think that finding those lifelines and holding fast to those can keep me from being swept away. That helps me regain my footing and stay present.
It hooks into what we were talking about last time, the idea of a tether, right? And so when you're talking about like
Yeah.
grasping the end of this thread, like that just feels like such a clear metaphor of being like tethered to something. Like overwhelm, you're like either, yeah, like kind of swept away or just like lost in something. And then that's like a lifeline or a connection to something. I don't want to say concrete, not the right word, but
Tangible.
tangible. Yeah, like I guess I was just going with your storm metaphor a little bit, right? Like if you're lost at sea, how do you find some type of tether, like a life raft or something, right? It won't necessarily lead you out of the storm, but you've found the land for a little while. I definitely relate to that in terms of the world being so horrible right now that
Yes.
I'm only finding kind of like little life rafts here and there, you know?
Hmm.
And to be able to hold on to my curiosity almost feels like defiant at this point, right? Because when things are so overwhelming or horrible, it's like I want to just like make it stop. It feels like a bit of a retreat internally, whereas curiosity always feels like moving outward or grasping out. Staying open, being willing to take in new information and be interested in it.
So that leads me to when I think of overwhelm, a different perspective on that. I think that, how do I want to say this? I think one of the ways I cope with overwhelm is to feel bored. I think that that can happen, right? It's just too much. And when I work with teenagers, I think they are often misunderstood as being apathetic or uninvolved, like that kind of idea. It speaks to me personally because to me that's a perfect answer to overwhelm. It's a way to float on the surface and not get drowned by the weight of the whether it's water or avalanche or whatever, it doesn't matter. But you
Yeah.
can sort of ride the surface of it. And I think that when I notice I'm bored, it's an indicator for me that I'm probably experiencing overwhelm. I don't always notice it right away, but I know that I'm not usually bored. So when I feel that, I'm like, okay, what's that about? Curiosity, again, is an antidote to that. Even if it's something as simple as I'm super curious as to why I'm bored right now. Why is it that I feel so disconnected from it? It's a way to sort of get back in. Sometimes I notice when I'm slipping, sort of like slipping sideways, but I don't always notice it until I'm bored. And then I can remember, oh, okay, hold on, come back. And it's a way to bring myself back. Sometimes, depending on the circumstance, I just go with it. Sometimes it's a reprieve, right? Curiosity will bring me back, but sometimes riding the waves of boredom, I'll say to my clients, how is boredom useful? How is it helpful? I grew up being told you can't ever be bored. There's always something to do. And I believe that. But at the same time, there's a purpose for boredom, just like there's a purpose for despair or hopelessness. It's just about that flexibility of being able to sort of move in and then come back, right?
What was coming up for me there was just that disconnect, like the overwhelm or boredom, or like you said, even kind of just floating along the surface of existence for a while. Yeah, to be able to even do that consciously, where you're like, oh, I'm bored. Why am I bored? But I'm just going to go with it. Like, I don't want to hook back in right now. I need to stay a little bit disconnected. But it's doing that with some self-awareness that I'm going to pull myself back. Like, this is temporary. This is not a permanent solution to completely disconnect.
No, it's when you're taking swimming lessons and the idea that if you have to swim for a long time and you start to get tired, just float on your back for a minute. Take a break, right? And I think for me, boredom is that,
Mm.
ideally. I'm choosing to float on my back and stare at the sky because I need a break from all the swimming. And when I've regained my ability to continue, then I will flip back over and start to swim again. But we can't just swim without breaks. And I think that is the way it's feeling. We can't stop swimming. We have to keep swimming. And we do, but we also need breaks. So, how do you incorporate little breaks? If we're running a marathon, you can't wait till the end to drink water. Like you'll die, you'll pass out. You've got to, even though it feels counterintuitive because you want to keep going, you have to find ways to pause at least. And that's the only way it can be sustainable. And I think that's where we are in terms of our consumption of news and being well informed citizens of the world.
Yeah.
The lengthy swim.
I was thinking about boredom and the idea of floating on your back on the water, looking at the sky,
Yeah.
right? And like there's, clouds or whatever. And it's like there's a ability to allow your mind to kind of like get lost in that a little bit.
Drift a
And
little bit.
sometimes different thoughts or creativity can come as well. And just like I don't want to sound redundant, but the idea of just like we're always looking at our phones. So like we're
Hmm.
very reluctant to be bored, like if you're standing in a line, it's hard to just like stand there and look around, right? As opposed to like look at your phone. And I've been going to the gym with my friend and she was saying like I'm making a conscious effort to like not bring my phone with me. Like I leave it in the locker and it's like I can sit the seat between sets and just like look out the window, right? Whereas like everyone else at the gym is watching a video on their phone. It's that mental spaciousness that we don't allow ourselves anymore.
Yes,
It's like that constant consumption of data. Like you always got to be checking your email or someone messaged you. It's relentless.
absolutely. And I do think that being bored is something that we've sort of lost the knack for, perhaps. Maybe not lost it, but I think that it's something that needs to be practiced, interestingly. If people are supported well enough, sometimes I'll do that with them in our sessions where I'm like, what would it be like to just sit and do nothing? Usually I have to explain it 2 or 3 times because they're like, what do you mean? Because we seldom do nothing. I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, no, that's an action. You're still doing something. It's really hard to conceptualize. And I think you're right. I think that if we can't be flexible enough to choose at times to do nothing, then we've lost that flexibility. Back to what we've said from the very beginning, to a Gestalt therapist, the concept of really great mental health is maximum flexibility. It's not always happiness, but the ability to move through different emotional states and not get stuck. And I think boredom is one of those things. It's a way to protect ourselves from crap that's coming at us all the time. So it is a useful skill, I think, as a state to be used to swim through,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. And I notice for me, it's like if I am allowing myself to just stand somewhere or just sit, it really is that feeling of like, oh, I'm just existing. And that's fine. There's nothing else required in this moment. I'm allowed to pause and just be a human standing in a line looking at things.
And I think there's some relief, or there can be, once we sort of regain the knack. So that's my challenge to anybody who's listening. Try doing nothing. Literally sit on the edge of your bed and do nothing for as long as you can. If you make it past 15 or 20 seconds, you're probably rocking it. Just see what happens, see what it feels like. Because
Yeah.
I think there is some freedom. Everything's so tight, or at least that's my experience. If I spend too much time on social media or the news, I start to feel like the bands are all being drawn too tight or something, and I have less space in the world. It's not quite right, but in that universe somewhere. And so that expansiveness is what's missing. I think
Yeah.
boredom is one way to get there. Curiosity is another way to get there, interestingly. They seem counterintuitive, but I think they're related, actually.
So be curious about your boredom.
Yes. Oh, love it. Love it. All right. Well, speaking of that, I'm going to go sit still and do nothing. How about you?
I have to see a client and then I'll try a little bit of that.
Okay. And for everyone else, like and subscribe, please. Before you do nothing, do that first and then do nothing.
Yes. Please do the thing that helps us first and then do nothing.
Right. Shameless self-promotion. Okay.
Okay.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.